All right. Hello everybody and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 159. I am Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia. I'm a full-time Twitch streamer and also your weekly host. My co-host, as usual, is the lovely Perculia. Let's send the camera over to her.
Hey everyone, I am Perk. I am the site manager for Wowhead, so I oversee and contribute to the news, the features we do like today in Broken Isles, and all of the guides and contest community stuff on the site. And it's always really fun to do the show and get to talk to all of the site community and answer any questions and just show you what's going on, ranging from all the really bizarre data mining to, guides we've been updating on the site. So before we start, I want to let people know that SAS148 is not moderating in chat. He is really sick. He was actually in the hospital yesterday, so, send him your good wishes and healing thoughts. And if you have a question, you can message Kitsuki instead, and we'll try to answer it at the end of the show.
Mm-hmm. And SAS, if you happen to be listening to this somehow, we're sending you all well wishes and hope that you can be back with us very soon. In the meantime, just work on yourself, get the rest that you need and deserve.
Yep.
We also had Bright Paw earlier here, but
he ran away.
He ran away.
I have this idea that if he could just sit in my arms peacefully, kind of like a sleeping baby, it would be cute in the intro. But that wasn't his idea, that was my idea, so he's kind of running off instead of listening to what I have to say.
It's funny with the timing as well. He decided to leave exactly when we're actually live. It's like he knows, like, oh, we're going live now. I'm out.
Exactly.
Yep. That's exactly what happened. Well, maybe we'll see Bright Paw later on. We'll see.
Yep.
Maybe he decides, okay, you know what? I'm ready for the camera. I'm ready for the spotlight.
Maybe if I, bring out treats, he'll jump into my lap for the treats for a few minutes. But we'll have to see.
Hey, that could work. That could work. But yeah, let's jump into the latest stuff that's happened in World of Warcraft the past week. I think what we're going to start with actually is to take a look at a little green parrot that you guys might recognize from a very, very popular meme. Let me show you the model. There it is. So this parrot called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Kakapo?
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it.
You guys might recognize it, especially you Twitch users may recognize it as the Ema Rare Parrot. It's a video that went viral online on YouTube and has had a lot of memes created from it. Let's put it like that. And as usual, not as usual maybe, but Blizzard does tend to, snap up on these kind of funny things that happens. And now Kakapo has its own little NPC, it seems, in the game.
Yeah, and on a more serious note, this is a large endangered parrot, I believe either in, is it like Australia or New Zealand? And it's very large and it can't really fly, so it's kind of a target for predators, and they're revitalizing the population. I think it's above 100 now, but yeah, it was nearly extinct.
Yeah.
It's cool to see this in game. Maybe it will both raise awareness and, the more memes, hopefully more people will know the more serious history behind the bird and, I don't know, maybe get some more donations, help the bird grow its population. I wonder where it will be in game, like if it will be chilling out with Pepe, or maybe something that sits on your shoulder because it can't fly. But yeah, that was fun to see. It's super cute. We have a few of the animations up in the model viewer.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen the animations yet. Does it have the Rare Parrot animation?
No, it just has, let's see what it has. I know it has, walk, and it has run.
Could it be a battle pet?
I'm not sure. Oh, it looks kind of funny when it does battle roar.
Okay.
Maybe that, well, yeah, it's like the battle roar does the thing, but its wings aren't flapping, but it's halfway there.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe no Rare Parrot animation, but other animations are confirmed though, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it can't fly. Oh, this is really sad. I'm going through the animations and it just sort of is plopping in place.
Aww.
But yeah, it's pretty cute.
Yeah.
I don't know where what it will be used for, but it would be
I guess
awesome
we'll
if they
see.
added a rare parrot animation.
Along with Kakapo, we do have some other new models as well. The first one I'm going to show you guys here is a slideshow of pirate crabs. So these look really funny. Like,
Yeah,
like what are these?
yeah, I mean, one has an alliance shield and a sword and a, I don't know, pot on its head. And then another is a horde one with a barrel on its head. And then
Yeah.
another is a neutral one that is holding some alcohol. Ghost Crawler actually saw this one and he was like, "Oh, he's like, I wouldn't mind this one, if as my forum avatar, like, this crab is pretty cool." Because back in the day, he was a crab for WoW.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I don't know what it'll be used for, but I don't know. Seems like they could kind of appear and attack both factions, maybe in the war campaign, or new allied race crabs.
New allied race. No, I think they look adorable with their little pirate costumes. Like, I wonder what that's
Yep.
gonna be. Do we have any confirmed pirate specific areas?
Well, we know that Freehold, it's the pirate dungeon, and they are part of the story where they, they're kind of the bad guys, spoiler alert if we're fighting them, and they are involved in a lot of the unease going in Borealis. So, their interior guard sound. I think that they're primarily there because the other zones are more like mystical priests and like weird Druid magic. So Freehold's kind of their center area.
Okay, so maybe that's where we see these crabs as well.
Yeah.
Along with these, I'm not sure if these images were new, but I wanted to highlight them anyways. They're sort of pirate monkeys.
They are new as well.
They are new as well. Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't sure. I don't think I've seen them before, but I wasn't certain, so I wanted to make sure I don't say something wrong. But yeah, these look really cool as well. And like the details on the skeletons, and I mean, they are monkeys, right? But in skeleton form, so it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, we've seen skeleton troll pirates before, so this seems like it could be the Alliance equivalent, like maybe with shipwrecks or something like that.
I like them. I think they look cool. So some of these have the typical sort of pirate hats, like this one that's being shown right now. And some of these have sort of bandanas, I guess would be the term, like you can see right now on the pictures.
Yeah, they probably are lower ranking ones because the ones with the real pirate hats also have bigger gloves. And then the ones with the little bandanas don't have any gloves.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Good observation.
Yep.
Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to show over here. Yeah, a little side note, a small update with some more armor in case you guys wanted to see it. It's not much, but it's a couple new armor models that I wanted to quickly show off. And where was this armor from?
You're talking about the weapons, right? Like the pirate hook and the...
Sorry, yeah, the weapons. So the
we
wrong
don't
word.
know where they are from. I think the pirate hook is from Dungeons.
I think the pirate hook looks really cool. That's the one I was showing right now.
Yep. The Ashara and Rastakhan ones, we're not sure they could be used by the NPC, or we'll get to, raid speculation, maybe, these are NPCs that could play a role in some form in upcoming story content, so maybe you will be able to get these appearances by, finishing content as well.
Gotcha. All right. Moving on from these models, we have an update on Kul Tiran Druids. So in the past, we've seen the cat form and the bear form, and now we also have the travel form. And what's interesting about the travel form is that it actually comes in different colors, which has not been the case for any of the other travel forms that we've seen in the past.
Right, so people are speculating that perhaps if you change your hair color at the barbershop, it will also impact the travel form just like it does your bear and cat form.
That's interesting. I wonder if this means that they would change the regular druids too.
I mean, that would be cool if they did that. Another speculation, which is less cool but possible, is these could be like weird NPCs just out in the world. So maybe one form is the druid travel form, and then the other colors are just sort of chilling out in the forest somewhere.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it's not their actual travel forms. Well, let's hope it is. I
Yeah,
think,
fingers crossed.
yeah, fingers crossed. I think druids should have more cool stuff, and it's nice when like these new races can be druids and
Hmm.
they have these special sort of forms that comes with it. I think it's really cool. So I hope they do get the different colors. So I
Yeah.
think currently the only one that we haven't seen yet is the Kul Tiran Moonkin form, right?
I don't think we have flight form for the
Oh, good
Kultura yet
point.
either.
Flight
So,
form. Good
yeah,
point.
we're getting there. Maybe they'll
We're
give us
getting
one to
there.
build. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it so far. It's like a little at a time. Okay,
Yep.
so everyone's done with travel form. Let's hype up the Colchian druids again.
Yeah. Speaking of Kulturen, we have some armor sets, which also are related to Kulturas.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the leather Kulturas and male Zandalari set, and the Kultura set got way more hype, because people are really excited that the Kulturas heritage armor could be a trench coat and like an actual coat with 3D collars and flaring out. And the leather dungeon set appears to be a trench coat, but like an ironed on version, not the 3D
Mm-hmm.
effects. But the icon looks like it could be maybe turned into a trench coat in the future because the icon looks very three-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And people still think it's cool as a vest. I think it's a pretty neat set. I think the red and black version is pretty striking.
Yeah, I was
Obviously
gonna
more
say that as well.
3D doodads would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I like the red one. It's like a deep red color and it
Mhm.
looks really well with the black. And yeah, I think it would be really cool to get some kind of trench coat. So having those kind of icons that kind of could hint towards that is always very exciting to see.
Yep. And I think we have all of in the past we've covered all the other dungeon variations. Not all of them are in the dressing room yet because Blizzard hasn't added the like pieces that you can equip, but when they do add it for all, 8 sets, the 4 Kul Tiran and 4 Zandalari, we'll make a post and dressing room links so you can have fun with that.
Mm-hmm. So far, I've shown you all the different leather variations and colors. I'll
Mhm.
also go on to the male Zandalari one, which looks like this.
The shoulders are pretty intense with the teeth.
Yeah, yeah, they are. I don't know what I think about this one. I feel like it looks strange. I
It
don't
kind of
know.
looks like plate. I know the
It
plate
does
is
look like
slightly
plate, especially
different,
this
but
golden one.
yeah, the feathers at the top and the shoulders are really similar to the plate set.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I know people like the plate set, so that's cool. I know
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people like, oh, the male set is always the worst set, so I don't know, make the set look like a different variation. People like maybe that's the solution. Um, but yeah, I mean, uh, I think it's cool that more people like the Kulturon set because at first everyone was like, oh, the Zandalari are like so flashy and awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and Kulturas is kind of boring and drab. But I think it shows that if you do the maritime theme well and you have distinctive colors, that the Kulturas designs can shine as well. And,
Yeah.
well,
I think also I just noticed that I might be a little bit biased. I think it might just be the green orc look that makes me not like the
yeah,
armor as well. So maybe it would have looked better on something else, not a green orc.
yeah, we
Maybe.
will. Yeah, maybe we'll try a different race in the future. Like by default, it's really easy to load these up on humans, but we obviously don't want to do that if for the for the horde armor. So I don't know. Maybe next time we'll put it on a troll or a nightborn or something.
Yeah, that's something I've thought about as well. I like humans, especially because, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys realized, but we're all humans. So when
Yep.
we see something on a human model, it's a lot easier to like really see how the armor looks and feels. So when it's
Right.
on something different, it feels a bit strange or
Exactly.
odd.
Yep.
Especially for someone like me who never plays an orc. So then I'm not used to like how the shoulders look on the arms and things like that. So
Yep.
that's probably also part of why I thought it looked a bit strange.
Yep.
But the colors were
Um,
good. I like the golden colors.
yeah. And very thematic. It's like, oh, we're fighting, gilded things in Zandalar, so we have the very over the top look. And everyone always says that the male set is subdued compared to the other sets, so maybe it's good that they're giving the male set kind of over the top, big shoulders and feathers, just like all the other classes.
Yeah, I think the feathers were a cool addition.
Yeah.
Moving on from the armor, we have some faction tabards. I think some of these are stuff that we have shown before, but we'll show them again.
Yeah, I think the two neutral ones are the main highlight, but we've never actually just shown them all in the same place, so it might be good to reiterate that, yes, every faction has a tabard that you get at Exalted, and each faction has like 4 specific ones, and then 2 neutral factions that the Alliance and Horde share.
And one of the ones that we wanted to highlight is actually this one that's showing right now, the Talanji one. Okay, it's gone now. Let me go into a still picture of it. There we go. The really cool thing about this tabard is the part that goes up to the neck. I don't know. Do we have any tabards today that are like this?
I'm not sure, but yeah, the Talanji and Voldunai one have a different neckline, which, you know, I think is I think it's pretty interesting. Like we also saw with the Dark Iron and Magcar tabards that they have interesting things going on, so they look really good with certain types of the heritage armor, like little doodad. Like the Orc one has like a gigantic belt, so the Magcar Orc Horde logo is way at the bottom of the tabard, because if it was in a normal position, the rest of the heritage armor would clip through and hide it. So I think it's cool that they're making some armor sets to reflect the armor you're meant to wear it with, or in the case of Talanji, she is the high-neck dress, so the high-necked tabard kind of matches her look too.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool, and I can imagine a lot of like female trolls then wanting to have this tabard.
Yeah, exactly.
To kind of create a Talanji lookalike.
Yeah, she reminds me of Zelda too, by the way.
Yeah.
Her dress is very Zelda colors.
Yeah, it's been mentioned quite a few times. I agree with that. It's a cool kind of like image that it comes off with. I really like the colors and everything with the dress.
Yep. Have we shown them the Champions of Azeroth or Turtolin Seekers yet? It's the blue and the green ones.
Yes, I think it was in the slideshow. I can go through the slideshow again to make sure that we've seen all of them.
Yeah, just want to draw attention to those, because those were the ones we hadn't featured before. The Azeroth tabard is kind of giving me vibes of the one you get from Shadowmourne, like the blue with the nice silver thing in the center. And also just wanted to point out, I know we showed the Alliance tabard before, but a lot of people are really excited that the tabard is named the 7th Legion tabard, because, you know, people have fond memories of helping them in Wrath, and they're like, oh, they can never get their armor set back in the day, but, like, I RP a 7th Legion guard, and their faction is meaningful to me, so I'm really hyped that it's not just, like, Alliance war effort tabard, but it's the 7th Legion's tabard.
Yeah, that is actually really hype. I like that. I'm happy they did that. Yeah, I think we've gone through all the tabards now.
Yeah, and all these are in the dressing room, so you can start planning outfits around with them. You know, when you just load up the dressing room, you click on the tabard slot, and you just type in the name of the tabard, and it appears on the character. And yeah, speaking of our final dressing room update, we highlighted a lot of the Warfronts armor and weapons before, but now a lot of the Tier 1 and Tier 2 variations, as well as the weapons, are up in the dressing room, so you can start mixing and matching. And some of them are a lot of fun. Like, I really like the Tier 2 Horde male set that has the spikes, the plate set, with the shield, with the Horde logo that also has the spikes.
There, I'm showing that one right now.
At the top. Yeah. I know that the Dark Iron Dwarf heads are kind of big on some of these, but I really wanted to show that in the dressing room you can load these up on the new allied races coming, so that's why I use them on the Dark Irons and the Magcar, but you can change the race to whatever you like, pretty much. That's the beauty of the dressing room.
This is the Alliance leather model, and the next one coming up here is the Alliance cloth version. And the last one I wanted to highlight from these Warfront ones was the Horde cloth one.
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
So here's a Tier 1, and then it goes into Tier 2. Sorry, you can go on.
Yeah. Oh, I just was explaining that the tier 1 and 2 are kind of similar, but the main differences come from the helm, the shoulders, and the belt. But the other pieces seem to be pretty much the same. So we don't know how you get these yet. In the data files, some are like the combatant armor and some are called gladiator armor. But, you know, the actual names of the models are called warfronts. So not sure how you get all of these. Maybe you can get the tier 1 and 2 from PvP, but tier 3 is if you do a lot of warfronts. We're not sure yet, but we'll let you know if we do learn more. They haven't done too much warfronts testing yet.
And
also,
I have to... Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead. The people are really excited about like the flowy cape that was shown at BlizzCon for the plate set. We haven't seen that yet. We don't really have cape in the dressing room yet, but if they do have the flowing cape, it would be really cool. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I saw a couple of comments in the chat as well, and I have to say that the Warfront armor does look a lot better on the Horde. I think it's because they have such a easy sort of, not easy, but they have a very clear signature with the spikes. So like, especially when you go from like tier 1 to tier 2, there's more bigger spikes, and then you go to tier 3 and it's huge spikes. With the Alliance one, I guess it's a little bit harder to like distinguish that much between the tiers.
Yeah, I really don't like the mouse set. It just kind of looks like a hot mess in the belt area. Like that's why I angled them, so to kind of hide what I thought. So, like, let's put this bow because it just, I don't know. It looks really weird in my opinion.
The Horde mail one?
No, the Alliance mail one.
The Alliance mail one. Yeah, I think
it just doesn't work.
I think I decided to not highlight that one actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I mean, you know, I'm not gonna be too biased and be like, oh my god, why the Horde? I think it's great. So if you are Horde, congrats, you're getting the better Warfront armor. In my opinion, this is all subjective.
I think the cloth one does work because the Alliance one gets more gems, so like that thematically works. But no, obviously the Horde cloth set is cool too because it's like, oh, tier 2, here's a gigantic Horde logo on your belt.
Yeah. Yep. All right, I think that covers all the different new models for armor and similar, and we will move on to a topic which is very interesting for me, the topic of mounts. So it seems like we have a lot of new mounts that are now official for both Horde and Alliance. I'm going to show you guys some of these. For the Alliance, most of these mounts are griffins and horses. That is not a griffin or horse. This is a griffin. So there's a few of different ones from different reputations, right?
Yeah. So the Alliance factions, each faction at Exalted currently rewards a horse and a griffin, and then the Horde has some more variation where one gives you dinosaurs, another gives you a blood swarmer, and another gives you a hyena.
So I'm just going through the Alliance versions at first. But yeah, as Perk mentioned, so I think with the Alliance ones, yeah, you get one horse and a griffin, right? For each reputation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think some of these mounts actually match each other. Like there's the, I think there was one that was kind of like a shadow horse, and it was matching with the shadow griffin.
Yeah, and then the other one is the blues match, and then the greens match.
So if we continue, like this is the shadow horse one. If we continue, we can go on to the Horde mounts, which are here. So the dinos come in different colors, and then as Perk mentioned, there is also a spider. Was it a spider? It was a spider.
It's like a bat. It's creepy. It's super creepy.
It's something that does not actually exist in real life.
Thankfully.
So. Thankfully. Wait, is that the one with the animation that looked really creepy?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My brain just connected the dots. Oh, and here's the hyena. I think the hyena looks really cool. I'm kind of sad that we're not going to get that as Alliance. Well, most likely not. We'll see, I guess. And this is the spider bat thingy that I was talking about.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about this. So first off, there's more hyena tints that are not currently in use, so maybe the Alliance could get one. But the main point of discussion with this is that the Alliance mounts are kind of predictable, or, you know, they're just recolored horses or griffins, while the Horde gets a lot of, you know, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And then there's another argument that, oh, if we can't fly at the start of Battle for Azeroth, like, the Alliance get a horse that they can use and it looks normal and cool, but I have this weird dinosaur, like, flapping along on the ground. So, and it goes both ways, but I think I've seen more people talking about how the Griffin models, their wings are kind of like low res, and it would be cool if they made them be better.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm on the fence. I kind of like how the Alliance gets the ground and the flying versions. And, people might say the horses are boring, but, people, I remember when they introduced the Worgen racial horses, like, people were super excited about just getting a plain horse. So, don't underestimate the people that are, just really happy to have, like, simple mounts or, showing their faction pride or, just want something that, reflects what a human would ride or the, just kind of the lore of stuff. A lot of people also just like horses in general. They like horseback riding or following that sport.
I think some of the horses had like extra, what's it called? Like extra accessories. So I guess that could also make it feel a little bit special. But I do understand the feeling of like, oh, we're just getting horses. Like, why can't we get something new and cool? Which I guess in a way the Kul Tiran druids do get something completely new, and they are still Alliance, which is nice because a lot of people, or at least I, did not expect that to happen. I was expecting the Zandalari to have cool stuff, and I was accepting that the druid one is not going to get one because Kul Tiran's like it's very close to being a human, so they're probably not going to get anything special. But they brought something, so.
Yeah. I think I'd be happier with the Griffin if they updated the wings. Like you probably noticed, but as we're showing the pictures, that second image, if you're going from the left, where the it's angled and the wing is just it looks really strange. So it would be cool if they made the wings look nice from all angles.
Yeah, I was just thinking they're just pictures, so I'm not sure how they would look in the game itself. But yeah, I do think they should consider that. If there's anything with the model that makes it look a bit disappointing, then they should definitely fix that.
Yeah.
Another mount of interest is a world drop. It's called the Naz Jatar Blood Serpent. Let me get the picture up. Right there. You guys might recognize it. It has a similar model to the Abyss Worm, a mount that I am still missing. Something that I'm still trying to farm.
Also the Mind Worm, so...
Yes, that one too.
Yep.
Very good point. And apparently the flavor text mentions N'Zoth?
Yep, it is monstrous serpents riddled with corruption serve as mounts for N'Zoth's high-ranking lieutenants in the Great Sea, and it is listed as a drop from the adherent of the Abyss in Stormsong Valley, which, as we've covered before, the Tide Sages in Stormsong were like in tune with the sea, but then they kind of got corrupted with Whispers, obviously, and like Ashara is involved. So this kind of strengthens the link that like N'Zoth is, involved in some way.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool for a recolor. I know some people are saying, "Oh, this is the best one yet," and it's kind of got the, creepy blood vibe to it. So.
I mean, again, it's red and black. I always say to everyone, like, red and black are the best color combinations. They're my favorite color combinations. So whenever because my hair is red, right? So I do, wear a lot of black because I think it looks amazing. And I think it's the same with anything. It's just something with our eyes that picks up red and black together. I think it tends to look good. It's like a nice contrast. So I do agree that it's the best looking mount of that model. Hopefully it won't hate me as much as the Abyss Worm, and I will not be very unlucky. But yeah. I don't think there were any more mounts to show off.
Nope.
But
but
we do have a little update with a glyph. Is the glyph new for druids, or does it exist already?
These 3 glyphs are new, and I believe that you buy them at Tortolin Revered.
Okay. I'll show you guys how it looks like. So if you are a druid, you can look like this when swimming in the ocean. I think it looks adorable.
Yeah, so there is the glyph of the dolphin, and then the tide skipper, which is a different type of dolphin. And then there is glyph of the humble flyer, which is your swift flight travel form appears as your more humble racial flyer.
I think we saw these dolphins in the past, and I was wondering why they have a golden stripe.
Right.
And I remember asking you, like, like, I wonder if they're just going to be in, like, the sea near the Zandalari area or something.
Right.
And now we know it's because it's a druid form.
Yeah, get double duty. Like, they obviously are in the sea, and now you can, you know, match them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they look cool. I would definitely use this glyph if I was a druid.
Yep.
I think they look pretty. We also, the mention of the 2 Pepe costumes. Is there anything new with it, or just a...
Oh, just that, like, we've seen Pepe in his costumes around the, you know, Kul Tiran and Zandalar before, but we data mined items, so it's confirmed that your Pepe can turn into them. It's not just, oh, look, it's a Pepe sitting around, like, you know, there's a few Pepes that just sit around that you can't interact with, but there will be some way of getting these special Pepe costumes.
Okay.
And as a reminder, you can put Pepe on your head in the Wowhead dressing room, so you can match your transmog to the Pepe on your head.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was like, I've seen these before.
Yeah, so we data mined the models back in January. We saw them just kind of sitting around and you couldn't interact with them, but now it's like a tiny voodoo mask and a tiny diving helmet, so we can get them, and Pepe will have more things to dress up. I feel they need, like, an item where you can choose the Pepe costume, because he has a lot of Pepes now. Like, there's Demon Hunter, Knight, Ninja, Pirate, Scarecrow, Scuba, Traveler, Viking, and Zandalari. So there's 9 possible Pepe, and regular Pepe. So that's a lot of Pepe.
That is a lot of Pepe. Yeah, I agree. There should be a little book or something that you could use to specify which one you want. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Sorry I jumped there. This, like, rubber band thing just, like, plopped out of something and wanted across the screen. So I was like, is this...
Oh!
But yeah,
no
one
worries.
more quick thing. Items. This is kind of a troll on Blizzard's end. There are 2 new bags. One is revered with Voldunai, and there's the Alliance equivalent with Proudmoore Admiralty. It is an odd number of bag slots. It is a 31 slot bag.
That's the first time there's ever been an odd number, right?
The penny pincher bag from Hollow's End, the little 1 slot bag.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So
1 slot.
It's kind of funny.
So it's 31, and I saw some people talking about, okay, well, gotta get a full set of 31 slot bags, but they're actually unique. So it seems like you can only get one of them.
Exactly.
So that means you get 1 extra bag slot per bag. I think there's 2 bags.
Well,
2
it's
different ones.
Alliance.
Or it's 1
Award,
Alliance for it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you will get 1 extra bag slot for the new expansion. I remember when before, like, for each expansion you'd get bigger bags, and now they kind of like just don't want that. They're sort of sticking to the same size. Like right now with the latest bags that we have, it's the exact same size as the Hex Weave, which was last expansion, and now they're giving us 1 bag with 1 extra slot.
There's also the authenticator, so they probably want you to authenticate, because if you do that, you get the 4 extra slots.
Good point.
So they can't say, well, if you ignore us, but you grind out rep, you get more slots. So I think that's about it with items, but we have another interesting quality of life update, which is related to the Druid glyphs. Some of you might be thinking, oh, but, like, why do I need all these glyphs if I can only glyph, 1 variation of travel form at once? So that now has changed in Battle for Azeroth, where they have added more buttons to the spellbook for aquatic form and flight form, so you can glyph an aquatic form and a flight form at the same time. And currently, if you glyphed, for example, aquatic form, you could also not glyph flying form. So this is cool because you can have, glyph of the humble flyer and tide skipper, or, glyph of the orca and glyph of the sentinel at once, which is, pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's awesome. I think in the past, Druid forms were all separate, right? And then they put it together. Yeah.
And they still are together, so if you're swimming and then you fly, you automatically change form. But with the extra buttons, it means that you don't just have to click on travel form to modify it. You can click on the aquatic form button instead.
Yeah. Because if you would use 1 glyph, then, like, that ability has used up the glyph, and then you can't put another one because that would replace it. But now there's separate buttons. Got it. That's awesome for Druids. Good news for Druids.
Yep. Another quality of life thing that we got a few updates on is how prestige will work in Battle for Azeroth. There was a few tweets that Warcraft dev said, but the final tweet from Ian was, the initial tweet was imprecise. Apologies for that. What is being combined is your amount of honor earned, so all partial credit will count. It means that 2 Prestige 1 characters don't add up to a Prestige 2 account because Prestige 1 takes less honor than Prestige 2. And the previous things were saying that all your honor will become account-wide, so if you had, like, 5,000 honor earned on one character and 1,000 honor earned on another character, whatever prestige levels that adds up to, going forward, you would be credited for whatever 6,000 prestige honor would be. So, you know, maybe if you were, like, 4 on one character and 2 on another, that would get merged together and you'd be in, like, the 5 or 6 range. Because, you know, prestige 1 is less... People are like, oh, like, if I just turn prestige 1 on everyone, that's easier, and then it will add up and be really high. It's like, no, we're going to take it into account that prestige 1 is easier to get, but that lower amount will still be contributed account-wide.
Yeah, because the thing that was misleading with the first one is that they specifically gave an example saying if you have 4 characters of prestige 3 each, then your total would then be 4 times 3 and you would end up with 12 prestige. And that is not the case now because the first prestige takes less honor and is therefore worth less than a full prestige. So you would have something more like 3 times 3, like 9, plus the rest of the honor added up together. However much that is, so you'd be somewhere like, I don't know, maybe prestige 10 or something.
Exactly.
Or prestige 11 maybe even. I'm not sure what the exact math is. But yeah, I'm still kind of sad about prestige not having a real catch-up mechanic because it's something that takes such a long time, and especially being a feature of this expansion, I feel like it's being extended to the next expansion and not... Well, I guess we'll see how it's going to be in the next expansion, but it feels like the system is going to change a little bit, right? I think they said they're not going to add more special rewards to it. So then I feel like in the next expansion, I'm going to be working on something from last expansion and there's no catch up to it.
Right. I guess we'll get to it in a second, but they are trying to incentivize war mode more and maybe make, you know, stuff more alt friendly. So I guess the idea could be that if you're naturally doing war mode on different alts, you will be... You know, when you earn prestige, it's towards like all your characters, it's not just towards one. So I guess that could kind of be a catch-up mechanism. Like,
but what if you don't play any alts?
I know, yeah, it's still weird. I don't know. I'm trying.
I mean, it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps that you alts can now like share, because I know for a lot of people it really sucked that you had to stick to one character. You couldn't like play multiple characters, and especially for people who play PvP very seriously, they would have to play their alts, and then they would have to start off with having no talent, no honor talents, and they would have to continue from there. So overall, I think it's great that it's account-wide, but I do think it's still missing a catch-up mechanic.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
For people who don't play PvP on alts.
Yeah. Yeah. We should talk a little bit about war mode, because while honor talents are not enabled for testing, even though, you know, we've been in the alpha beta for a few months, Blizzard made a blue post clarifying some things on how the system will work to start getting feedback. There were 2 interesting things. The first thing is that we obviously know that there are honor talents and they'll be enabled when you are in world PvP, and you can only turn war mode on and off in the capital cities. But it was an interesting detail how when you are in war mode, you go out in the world and you benefit from those honor talents, even if you are not in PvP combat.
Yeah,
so you can have a lot of you can have extra utility if you're just like killing mobs and you know, want to take less damage, or your CC does more things. So that was kind of interesting. And the other interesting thing was bounty hunting. If you kill a lot of people in the opposing faction, you will have a bounty on your head and a zone alert that you were in the zone, and you will appear on the map, so everyone will try and kill you.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I actually can't wait to see how that's going to be. Because yeah, it will be exciting for people who are really into PvP to, you know, get this sort of bounty over their head and see if they can, you know, keep on killing more people with it, or if they're going to lose it. And also, like, what does the bounty mean? Like, what kind of reward would you get if you kill them? That's also interesting.
Conquest.
Conquest. Okay.
And it can also, like, if you're being griefed by someone and they keep killing you, if there's a zone-wide alert to kill them, it can also maybe help balance things out. Like, okay, this guy keeps picking on this one player. Like, let's all, group up and take down this player instead.
Because then he would give more reward as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you kill that player, then you get a lot of conquest. So maybe that can balance it out. So it's not like, oh, like South Shore is, taken over by the Horde for hours on end. So we'll avoid situations like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. We also have warfronts. We learned that there are world bosses, not just on the continents like we already knew, but the warfronts are getting world bosses. This was hinted at very briefly at the media day, where they said that the winning faction of the warfront will have like special outdoor content reflecting that they own the zone. So basically, the world boss is a war machine of the enemy faction. And obviously the enemy faction is trying to take over the warfront, and the world boss, you go out and you kill the enemy machine, and then you get some loot. We don't know what it is yet because it's copy-pasted from the Legion world bosses, but yeah, the Azerite machines look pretty cool. They've got like spikes and all sorts of doodads on them.
Yeah, I'm showing the pictures of them now. There's like an Alliance version and a Horde version. I think they look really cool.
Yeah. They also look similar to the ones we've seen in the pre-patch stuff. Like one of the steps is to like destroy the Azerite war machine. So obviously there's a lot of them floating around, and we keep making them. Let's see. We've got some stuff on dungeons and raids. This was pretty interesting in the data mining. We learned that, previously that Borealis is a dungeon in Battle for Azeroth that actually just opened for testing, and it fits into the plot line of, the faction war heating up, as well as some intrigue. And then we data mined this map entry called 8.1 raid, with the description of Zuldazar raid, and we have a mini map for that. And
showing
that's
it right now.
Interesting, because it does add. We've talked about how the faction storylines seem to like parallel each other, where like a leader is betrayed, and there's like an estranged daughter, and they gain family trust, and like the same villains are behind both of the faction intrigue, and there's like a naval that has issues, and now it looks like Zuldazar will be an 8.1 raid, maybe a mini raid in the style of Trial of Valor, and not sure what the type of attack will be like. I mean, it's the Alliance one is both like a larger threat, and then the Horde piggybacks off of that to profit. So you can imagine that maybe the Horde thing is something similar, like the final stage of a rebellion, and the Alliance retaliate and then try to attack the city as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really cool how they are planning it, and it lets the other faction see the capital city in an interesting way. And just the way the zone is laid out, it works as a interesting leveling zone to discover, but you can also see based on the map, it's like, oh, like we could start here, and then we like fight the trash by going up to the east, and you can kind of guess where the bosses are going to be just based on how this looks. So it's cool it works as an outdoor area, but also a raid.
Yeah, and I think
I can just picture like a skull in the center of that golden pyramid, and like a skull by the docks, and like a skull in the green area to the east. So
and I think, like you mentioned, it is definitely fun for the opposite faction to be like on Horde territory. Well, whatever the opposite faction is for you, but for an Alliance faction or an Alliance character, it's very interesting to be on Horde territory. Like we felt that a little bit in the Siege of Orgrimmar, for example. So I think something like this would be really exciting. I would like it. It would be cool, especially since Zuldazar looks so amazing. So it would be cool for us to also be there and have things to do.
Yep. This next part, we should put up the spoiler tag because it's the broadcast tech segment.
Yes. Yep. Okay. We got quite a bit of spoilers tonight, quite a bit of story updates and a bit of speculation, and similar as we usually do when we find some broadcast text. So let's get the spoiler tag up. There we go.
Yep.
So where do we start?
Let's start with Vol'jin. Yeah. I think that's in the notes, yeah. Up to you. You have like all these images up of,
I got it ready. We can go for it.
Okay, so everyone is like, oh, when is Vol'jin coming back? What's his story? And previously we data mined some hints that were trying to... His, like, spirit is awakened, and there was some discussion, like, are his ashes worthy to be placed in the, like, sacred resting place of kings? And we learned that Talanji says, yes, it should be because he never trusted Zul all along, and he was a strong leader, and... he led the rebellion against Garrosh, and yes, I think he deserves to be resting here. And in the new text, we have this interesting exchange, which we're showing right now, of how Talanji calls on Vol'jin for advice, and he responds to her and gives her this inspirational speech, and basically says that, she needs to be the leader for the Zandalari, be the blade, be the symbol that they need. And that inspires Talanji to give this, motivational speech and, talk about how she, like, defeated Cahoon and, they're going to take back Zandalar, which is interesting because, Vol'jin is talking to her, not to the king. So it's like, is... Like, the king was kind of bound to Razan, and Razan was killed by Zul, so is it like, the king is fading away, a lot of people are speculating maybe he'll die at some point, I don't know, Zul'Dazar Raid, I could see him maybe passing away, and, like, Talanji is sort of the, the future of the Zandalar tribe, who's better at negotiating and, being a more decisive leader, but... Yeah, it looks like Vol'jin is advising her, so that is interesting, and I'm sure he'll keep having advice. I wonder what he'll say about, Sylvanas, because he saw a vision where she would take over, and it's like, this is not... I don't know. I feel like if he was opposed to Garrosh, he would not be thrilled with what Sylvanas is doing.
No, yeah, I agree with that. And, like you mentioned with Talanji, it's a very good point. Like, why is she the one being given these words by Vol'jin? What happened to her dad? Do we, like, is he gonna pass away? Is he just, like, sending over or, like, giving over the power? Or what is gonna happen? It's very interesting points.
Yeah. In the previous story, when he was, like, really seriously wounded by Zul's assassination attempt, we tried to, like, bring his spirit back from kind of the, limbo world, and there's a deal with Bronsamdi where it's like, well, I need his spirit at some point, but he can come back to life, and when you are trying to, run Zul out of Zuldazar, we call upon Bronsamdi, and he's like, oh, I'll help you, but remember, we have a deal, so... Maybe Rastakhan knows that his time is actually limited and he's rapidly aging more without the help of his, awesome magical dinosaur Loa. So, yeah. We can talk about the Chandris and the Blood Prince some more, which also ties into Talanji kind of being skeptical of Sylvanas and maybe, having her own leadership path. So there appears to be a two-pronged attack on the Horde, and Chandris Feathermoon is leading forces on Blood Prince Dreven with John J. Keishan, who you might remember from Red Ridge Mountains, the shirtless guy with the bandana. This is interesting for a few reasons. The first is that it obviously confirms Chandris is alive, and a lot of people were speculating that maybe she was the wounded, dying elf in the Burning of Teldrassil concept art, and she's obviously not if she's alive and well.
Just something I thought of now.
Yeah.
Kishan, was he the guy with the quests that were referencing the Rainbow movie?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, yeah, but I just realized now when you mentioned Red Ridge, I was like, oh, wait. Okay. Yeah. Just random fact. I just remembered now. Okay. Sorry for interrupting.
It's all right. So, apparently they get word that something is up with the kind of vampiric Blood Elves, if you might remember them from Wrath of the Lich King. Like the Blood Council and Blood Queen, and we kill one of the lieutenants, but then Blood Prince Dreven kills most of the party except for Chandris and Keishan, and there's kind of a fun dialogue we're showing now where like he's overly formal to her, and you know she is showing respect to him. So you know that is interesting. And
Yeah.
second, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is very interesting indeed because she's basically telling him to not telling him to, but letting him know that he doesn't have to be so formal, and
Right.
then that raises a few questions like like does this mean that they have a little bit of a closer relationship, and what is it gonna
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, it's very
Yeah.
interesting.
And even if they don't, it's also interesting because there's a stereotype that night elves are very like
Yeah,
standoffish and they're better than everyone else and like you
no
know they're
so.
joining the alliance but they're disdainful of the humans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool that Chandris is like, oh, you're a hero too, even though like I'm 10,000 years old and like you
Yeah,
know not.
yeah.
um, the second interesting point is from the Horde perspective. We get this perspective after the alliance took out one of the vampires, but you know suffered losses against the prince. And basically, the prince shows up, and Talanji is like, "What is this? Like, why are we like aligning
Mm-hmm.
themselves with us? Like, why are you giving me attitude? Um, you know, why are you not respecting my orders?" And Talanji is telling Rokan like, "I don't trust him. It's not wise to involve them." And Rokan's like, "Sylvanas wants to give them a chance. They don't have a home left. You know, if they can work with us, they can join the Horde. If they don't, then we'll get rid of them."
Mm-hmm.
So you have Talanji kind of in conflict with Sylvanas here, and
Yeah.
we kind of got a hint of that in that Media Day cinematic where Nathanos is like, "My war chief is awesome," and Zul's like, "Princess is strong too." So I kind of see them like
Bit of a
butting heads at some
clash.
point,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone is like, "Oh, like will the vampires be an allied race? And aren't the vampires kind of like the Lich King's domain?" And like Sylvanas is kind of getting into like Lich King territory between trying to have an alliance with these vampires as well as like raising things into skeletons.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of controversy surrounding that, and of course speculation like will these become an allied race? But uh, nobody seems to like them, so maybe they will mess up in some way and not be part of the Horde.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's probably where it's leading to towards as well, because a lot of people are very skeptic about them, um, and well, they're skeptic about Sylvanas as well, and again, that shows more hinting towards something's gonna happen possibly with Sylvanas, or
Mhm.
she's gonna have to maybe change, or they're gonna have to change her forcibly. Because
Right.
there's so many questions around, like we already know about Sarfang, we now see even more questions and skepticism from Talanji. So it raises more questions like where is Sylvanas going to be? How can so many people be skeptic of the war chief?
Right, and it's like, well, if you're doing so to preserve the Horde, but you're crossing a lot of lines
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of these, races object to, for cultural or honorable reasons, like
Mm-hmm.
are like what is left of like
Yeah,
what are
like
you
who
trying
are
to
you
fight for?
helping? Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so another part of the attack was Illyria and the Void Elves fighting the goblins and Gallywix. They've basically there was this dialogue where Chandris and Illyria are talking about threats, and they decide to have a two-pronged attack instead of picking one to go after first. And they go after Gallywix because he understands Azurite the most, and obviously Azurite
Oh,
is causing a lot of issues, especially as we've learned in the Burning of Teldrassil dialogue. There's a lot of really funny dialogue where they sort of crash a party and all the goblins are like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, we didn't put this, it's not on the screen, but there's stuff like, "The surprises will continue until morale improves.
mm-hmm.
Request for surprise received, proceeding with reckless abandon." But the interesting part is that we think we've defeated Gallywix, and it was actually a decoy of him.
Oh yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
And
that's
people are saying
basically,
like, oh, typical goblins. Should never trust them.
yeah. So yeah, we don't really know the context behind it, just that, Gallywix was the one who told Sylvanas about the Azurite. In the 735 cinematic, he obviously doesn't have any moral concerns about it, and the idea was to take him out because he obviously understands it the most, and the goblins are drilling for it, and we obviously kill some goblins, but it obviously backfires if Gallywix is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And oh yeah, we've got two more, and this is before the Teldrassil ones. So we don't know much about this or where it's from, but Mia Greymane, the queen of Gilneas, again Greymane's wife, there's a few lines implying that she is seriously wounded. We don't know if she survives. We know a lot of people were speculating that maybe Sylvanas does something rash, but like again is also doing something really rash that justifies Sylvanas being upset with him. But if like Sylvanas's forces are seriously injuring his wife, it kind of makes Gen seem more sympathetic. And it's so I don't know. It's interesting because I know a lot of people are really looking for some aggressive alliance action to kind of even stuff out as to like who's being morally gray, but this dialogue makes it seem like even if Gen does something in anger later on, it's like, wow, like they tried to assassinate his queen. That's kind of a big deal. And he's like, oh, like she is attacked by Kingdom with the Blight, and like she killed my son, so like I'm gonna be protective of the remaining members of my family. So interesting if we learn more context about this.
Definitely. I think that would also affect the whole Sylvanas topic a lot if she is indeed in charge, not in charge, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsible. If she is responsible for this, then that's even more sort of attack towards her and not agreeing with how she does things.
Right. But on a lighter note, we have cats. Brightpaw, come back.
We're talking about cats.
Come on, Brightpaw.
He needs to come back now.
Yeah, come on, Brightpaw.
Brightpaw, you're missing the highlight of the show.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll come back. We'll see.
So this crazy cat thing was based on apparently something that went viral in the past?
Yeah. A fun, it was made for like eHarmony, one of the sites, and there was someone singing about how much she really likes cats to like show off her personality.
And she got really emotional about it.
Yeah, she's like, I love cats. I want to hug all of them. Oh my god. So now there is a Nightborn that is exploring the world so she can hug every cat as well. And she also owns a bunch of cats too. And she's talking about cats a lot to you.
And here is the quote for it. And I think it's a pretty clear reference to this little viral video, which I actually had no idea of. I was not in the loop of this one, but it's pretty funny now that I know. Yeah.
I think it's from like 2010 or something like that. So
okay.
Yeah.
It was funny. I watched it today.
Yeah.
And you can see how she mentions a bunch of different cat types.
Yeah.
It's like rune sabers, storm sabers, lions, lynxes, panthers, pantheras. Lots of different cats.
And we know that she is from Suramore because she says that, first thing I did upon leaving Suramore was to meet every cat that I could and to hug them. And another part, she's talking about how Bella is an energetic kitten that cut Mrs. Fluffy Muffin's ear by accident, and she dealt with that by having Suramore's finest physician and surgeon attend to the cat. So now that I have a cat, I appreciate this type of dialogue a lot more.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
They need a little Brightpaw causing trouble.
Right?
Yeah.
I think these spoiler tags should stay for the next parts as well.
Yeah.
We got some
one
more
big part on Teldrassil, and then we'll take it off, I think.
So hold your ears for a little bit longer, and you can come back and go and stretch your legs. If you just came back, spoiler tag is still up, so you can come back in maybe the next 10 minutes or so.
Yep. So previously we've posted a lot of dialogue about the burning of Teldrassil, but not kind of the defining moments of it. Like, it's like, oh,
like what actually happens.
Yeah, it's like we know that there's a wall of wisps, and we know that both factions are like, the Horde's trying to attack during the day when the Night Elves are weaker and they have the element of surprise. And then we got those collector's edition novella excerpts, which, described, there was that battle with Malfurion and Sourfang, but we never really learned why the Horde was able to eventually press through, and, the aftermath of the battle with Malfurion. So we learned a bit more stuff. We know that Malfurion has this wall of wisps, and the Horde find a way to distract the wisps, which crashes down the wall. And there's a lot of discussion about Azerite and drilling Azerite and trying to keep it away from the Horde, and how the Azerite fuels the war machines and helps maintain a fire. So it's like, okay, well, maybe they caused the distraction in another part of the forest, and the wisps went to pull that out, and then the Horde was able to attack from multiple angles. So that was kind of the big thing, how the wisps were able to be dispersed. And as we learned in the Collector's Edition novella, Malfurion then tries to fight Sourfang directly, and it seems like he will be successful at defeating Sourfang, but then Sylvanas shows up and distracts him. And we're not really sure who says what in this upcoming piece of dialogue, but it seems that somebody has what is called a dishonorable blow on Malfurion, and another Horde person is trying to convince, like, it's okay, like, I was having trouble finishing him, he's wasting my time, and trying to tell this other person, Horde character, to just finish him off and then meet up with, everyone at the World Tree. So, it does appear that Malfurion was not successful against Sylvanas if there was this dishonorable blow changing the tide of battle, but he is not totally killed. And then we get this other piece of dialogue where it seems an Alliance character that found Malfurion is asking this Horde character why he was not killed, and the Horde character says, "I struck without honor, I did not deserve to end him." And the Alliance character trying to be all bravado and being like, I will, I'm going to kill you, like, haha. And this Horde character's like, well, you should focus on getting away because the rest of the Horde is going to defeat the World Tree. So, get away because, like, I can't stop the Horde from killing you. And then the Horde character has this kind of disdainful line like, oh, like, we must follow our war chief to ... victory, kind of sarcastic. And then the Alliance character is like, I'm tending to the Malfurion's wounds, but you need to go to Dornassus and help, rescue the citizens. And it's kind of sad, like, even at this moment, the Night Up is still like, ensure that the takeover is as peaceful as it can be.
Aww.
So we don't know who's saying what, but since Sourfang seems to be obsessed about honor and the rest of the Horde never mention it, one could imagine that Sourfang decides not to end Malfurion, and someone like Tyrande or Chandris talks to Sourfang and, moves him somewhere secretly to try to rescue him back to health. My guess would be Tyrande if Chandris later shows up doing stuff, as part of this war campaign. But yeah,
it would be really interesting if it's Sourfang.
Right. So yeah, we don't know who says what. Of course, it could all just be a red herring, but normally a lot of the broadcast text does tend to be accurate in some way, so yeah, that's very interesting there. And then we've learned some stuff after the battle. Another Horde character who seems a lot less sympathetic, who says, our strike on Teldrassil was meant to end a war before it began, to take an enemy's home and destroy their leaders in one stroke, to inflict a wound that would bleed the Alliance dry. We have only partially succeeded. The Alliance will retaliate. They will come for us, for me, for you. So it's kind of interesting how even though they burned down Teldrassil, they don't consider this a success.
Yeah. It's like we're not done. We just, we may have ruined parts of their home, but we wanted to remove Alliance completely from the map, and it did not work.
Right, and the leaders are not destroyed as well.
Yeah.
And then we have a line, we thought at first maybe it was Malfurion, but maybe it could be Anduin, and, you're saying, my whole life I have sought peace for this world, but that dream can never be achieved as long as Sylvanas leads the Horde. And I will tell you this, Sylvanas thinks to break us with this atrocity, she is wrong, and she will fall. So, they still, the Alliance still looks a lot more sympathetic here, saying, like, I wanted peace, and they burned everything down, and they're still not happy that they burned everything down.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, no, the Horde are not the bad guys. They're just, you know, not happy with the amount of killing they do. They want more. And the Alliance, you know, they're hoping for peace. But they're, you know, equally nice guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe we'll learn more about stuff like Talanji, where it's like, well, like, we have this leader, and I'm not really cool with what she's doing, and, like, I would just like my empire to be okay and not, like, blow up the rest of the world. And maybe we'll see more of a split between the leaders and the people.
Which I guess we are witnessing as well, right? I mean, we are witnessing Talanji being skeptic, we're witnessing Sarfang not being happy, and this other Horde person, if it's not Sarfang, who also wanted to let Maferian, like, to spare his life and let him go to safety. It kind of, I guess, does show the nice guys in a way of Horde. So maybe the Horde does bring more of the nice part of it as the expansion goes on, as maybe Sylvanas gets less power or something. It does feel like there's going to be some kind of revolt.
So I think we can take spoilers off now, because we're talking about new stuff up for testing.
Spoiler tag down.
Yep. So
let's see.
We got some mythic dungeons open for testing: Siege of Borealis and King's Rest. I'm not going to go into the story spoilers much, but they seem to kind of culminate the Alliance and Horde storylines that we've been covering so far. Interesting, these are only open for testing on mythic difficulty. And King's Rest has a cool undead dinosaur mount, as well as a mummy pet.
Oh yeah, the ones that we saw before.
Yep. So we will have more details right up soon, but if you want to know what the abilities do or what the bosses are, we have a Wowhead article that explains all of that. There's also raid testing this week for Uldir. There are 6 bosses for testing, including Zul, which a lot of people are excited about, because, you know, he's, like, a known name. Yesterday, they tested Mother and Vectis. Everyone thinks Mother is hilarious, because it's really Mother in large capital letters, and it stands for, like, some Titan abbreviation. She's kind of one of the... She's, like, a good Titan construct, and you get cleansed of corruption, and then she tells you all about the zone. And she looks pretty cool, too.
Was this the raid testing that was going on now, or was that something else?
Mother was yesterday. Today is 2 other bosses. Let's see. Today was Mithrax and the Fetid Devourer, and then tomorrow is Zul and Talok.
Okay, gotcha. So tomorrow will be the interesting one, or the extra interesting one.
So, yeah. Nothing too much to say there, except that this is the second wave of raid testing we've had. We just had, like, 1 boss tested, I think, April 13th. And we will have more detailed previews up soon about the dungeons, and not the raid. And I think we have voiceover files for Gahoon up on Wowhead's YouTube, which we'll probably cover soon, as well as an environment preview, because more of my coworkers have been testing these encounters as well for guides.
And also, if you haven't checked yourself, I know that there's been tons of beta invites going out. So if you haven't checked your email or your launcher, I think the launcher is the best way to check. You can click the drop-down menu to see if you are indeed invited, because it seems like a lot of people are getting invitations now that the beta is, you know, officially up and running. So could go and check it out. Maybe you're invited.
Yep. We also got a few new spell effects, which you probably are happy about, because 2 are warlocks.
Yep. It's actually very funny. So as a warlock, I played a little bit of beta, and I was playing Affliction, and when I was using my Shadow Bolt cast, I thought I had a bugged game. It was a box. Like a cube of pixels, and I was like, what is this? And I thought it was just my game at first, and I was streaming, and then people were like, oh yeah, warlocks have Christmas gifts. They're throwing Christmas gifts everywhere, and it's been like that for a while until now.
Right.
So now we actually have an animation for our Shadow Bolts. Or, well, it wasn't like this the whole time. I think it was initially normal, and then it turned into the Christmas box, and then back to Shadow Bolt.
Right. I think it's slightly different from the original one.
Yes.
It's more like a purple wisp. Yeah.
I've got it here. Right there, that's the cast. And if you look at the mummy, you see that there's some purple sort of aura around it. That's the new effect of the spell Agony. I think today it has no visual, no visual at all for the dot being up. But what it does have is the initial little sort of the sort of demon icon when you just put your Agony up, but then there's nothing else. And now it has an animation that goes on throughout the duration, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Might make it a bit easier to tell if you've dotted everything properly, especially in an instance when there's a lot of mobs, then you can see like, oh, wait, that mob is not purple. Let me tag him and put Agony on it.
Yeah. We also got an update to the Fireblood animation. This is the Dark Iron Dwarf racial, which removes all poison, disease, curse, and magic and bleed effects and increases your primary stat by a certain amount, and then for more based on each effect removed. It's pretty simple right now. You just kind of turn big and orangey and angry, but it's something. As usual, the mole machine is not available to preview as the racial, which is the one everyone cares about. But, you know, another one got updated. So, yeah. Progress.
I think it looks pretty cool. Very fiery, which I think suits very well with the Dark Iron Dwarfs as well, with their flaming eyes and everything.
Yep.
I think it looks cool. And I think that's it for spell animations.
Yeah, I think just those for now. I think that there's something hinting that Templar's Verdict is getting an update, but I don't think that's able to be previewed yet.
Okay. Moving on to zone updates. It seems like even more areas are now having NPCs filling the zones. I think we touched some of that before as well in some different zones, and now we've got some updates for Borealis Docks and Tradewinds Market.
Yeah, so the docks and the market are really bustling now with people in them and more banners and boxes lying around. There's even stocks with people being on trial for like stealing sweaters and other minor offenses. The markets has gigantic fish. The fountain at the center has a little picnic basket on the side, and the fountain is not your typical Alliance fountain with the hero character in the center, but it has all these anchors and naval stuff and like tentacles on it. So it reflects the zone a bit more, and it's neat because it's the first thing you see when you go into Borealis. And before it looked kind of dead, but now there's a lot more merchants and unique architecture when you first see the city. And the gardens are neat too. They added a bunch of gardeners walking around, including the center of the hedge bays, which I think is cool. They've got like little baskets of flowers, and they have a bunch of off-duty cadets just like sitting around and having fun. So I don't know, it feels very homey. It's nice to see people, you know, enjoying the city and haggling on the docks and, you know, just having a good time.
It's always nice having more NPCs added. Makes it feel more lively, which is nice.
Yeah. Speaking of NPCs, we have several NPCs we want to highlight, including, they're actually both in Borealis. So the first one is Jay the Tavern Bard. It is a Kul Tiran male NPC playing a guitar, and he is by an inn in Borealis near a bridge to Fernwood Ridge in Tiergard Sound. If you go close to him, there are sound effects where he plays his guitar in-game, and Jay won the BlizzCon 2017 talent contest with one of the bard tales, the Tales of Azeroth. So congrats to him. A few weeks ago, there was the cosplay contest winner honored with the Hogger costume in the Stormwind Stockade, so it's cool that they are adding more interesting creative community members to the world.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously these people are putting a lot of effort into what they're doing. They have a huge passion in the game, and they're using their talents to bring something to the game as well. Well, not to the game, but to the community of people with like-minded interests. And I think it's amazing. I think it's great that Blizzard is giving them a little bit of attention with putting them in the game itself. And I can also quickly show the video of him in the game where you can hear the music being played.
Yeah, let's do that.
So it's a pretty cozy environment. And you can see the music notes on top of his head as well. It looks really good.
Yeah. And just as a side note, he also has a cool podcast where he interviews a lot of other creative members of the community, a lot of voiceover actors for Blizzard games. And I was on the show maybe a month or two ago as well. So, you know, check it out. It's cool that, you know, being like this win sort of inspired him to really, you know, kick up his podcast a notch and get lots of Blizzard people on the show.
Mm-hmm. I actually saw his name in my chat, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I couldn't place where I knew his name from, but I told him, I was like, your name sounds familiar, but I'm not sure from where. And then he talked.
Now you'll always be reminded.
Yeah. So now I know. It would be funny if he was actually in the chat right now. But now I can confirm where I've seen it before, and I can because he talked about it. He's like, well, like I have done some things with Wowhead, and I'm also an NPC in the game. Maybe that's where you heard it from. And now I know. This is it. This is it, Jay. We got some another NPC also to highlight here.
Yep.
Let me show it here. So how do you say this? Kul Tenders?
It's short for Colonel Tenders.
Okay.
And it's a reference to the KFC Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, like the iconic guy on all the merchandise, not merchandise, on all their, like, you know, branding.
Yeah.
And he's a chicken vendor, and he sells an Ancona chicken, and then the special chicken feed, which you can use to get the Westfall chicken. And he's in Borealis, also in the docks. He's got some chickens around him, but also a bunch of chicken feathers. So, you know, he's not just probably selling pets. He probably has some. You know, making some fried chicken as well. So.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
And he kind of looks like the actual NPC that, you know, also has like a large beard and whiskers.
The actual person?
Oh, like the logo branding.
Oh yeah.
Is KFC a thing in Sweden? Like it's big here. But I don't know.
It's not. It's a lot of people know of KFC. But it wasn't in Sweden until like maybe 2 years ago or something. And there's very few of them. I've actually never seen one in Sweden. I've seen it when traveling to other countries. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny because I'm like, oh, it's a KFC joke, and like, oh, here's the cat joke, and it's just interesting hearing about like other cultures or countries where like something that's like a big meme in one country or like a cultural or like advertising branding is not you know, big where you are, and you know, vice versa. Yeah,
it's like it's kind of known, but it's a bit more like we don't know much about it. We just know like, oh, KFC is this huge chain in America and some other countries. But we don't have it here, and apparently it's great for fast food, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's almost exotic, almost for us. That is
so funny.
But yeah, I traveled to my sister's like a couple of weeks ago, and they actually have a KFC there, and that was the first KFC I've ever seen. And she lives in a smaller city, so that was really weird to ask her like, how long has it existed here? And she said about a year.
Interesting.
So it's growing its roots even in Sweden, slowly but surely.
Yeah. So we're kind of transitioning from beta to live news with the Q&A, which mostly focused on the beta. I'm not sure if you had a picture of this, but we did kind of a bingo, like memeing a lot of the funny things usually said at Q&As. I don't know if you wanted to pull that up, but we were trying to play bingo to see if you know, Ian would kind of do things like surprise announce an allied race, or, you know, call Azerite artifacts, or like explain that, you know, Sylvanas is really nice. And he actually thought it was funny. We tweeted it out and he favorited it before the Q&A. So that was kind of funny. And we were filling out the bingo, and we had lots of almost complete bingos, but not a perfect line. So we're like, oh, like, did he like purposely like
purposely did it? Yeah. That's funny. I actually did not have these images, but I see them now. I'll pull them up really quickly.
Yeah, maybe just the one that doesn't have the little wow heads over it, just so people can read it.
Yeah, I'll open it up here. So you actually did not manage to get a bingo? He was purposely like, I'm not gonna Not gonna let anyone win this game.
Yeah, we think that maybe people are like, oh, maybe one of them would kind of count, but it's okay. We'll mix it up for next time.
Yeah. That's funny. Here. I've got it right here. There we go. Battle for Azeroth Dev Q&A, April 26th. Bingo. Yeah, catch-up mechanics, classic servers, patch 8.1. Ian announces a new allied race. Accidentally.
Yep.
Legion legendaries. Yeah, I actually missed this bingo. This would have been fun.
Yep. So they hit up sounds good, makes sense, but they didn't hit up talking about it, nothing to announce yet. So, I think at one point they were memeing themselves, so we
yeah.
We got
at a good place right now.
Yep.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So what were the highlights of the Q&A? The GCD was a hot topic. And they removed some abilities. Some abilities were added to the GCD, and then they removed some of them from the GCD in a future build. So some people were happy about that, but still, some people are still not happy that the changes exist in the first place. They've decided that Azerite power will now be named Artifact power because it was getting confusing, and also the Heart of Azeroth is an artifact. So it's like, well, like this is just power that we're still using to power up an artifact, so we're just gonna... It's artifact power. Which I'm sure will be super confusing if you quit at the start of Legion and you're coming back and you're like, I have artifact power again. Oh my god, is my artifact still a thing? I thought it went away. Like, I'm sure there will be confusion about that.
Yeah, I think so too. And he also pointed out that, they both shortened to AP anyways.
Yep. We learned that Conquest gear will be partially randomized, but some of it will be structured, so if you grind it out, you get pieces at set timetables. Personal loot used for all of BFA, that includes raids. And another controversial topic was people were asking about high elves, and Ian gave some reasons that the blood elves are basically high elves, and some reasons why high elves maybe couldn't work as an alliance allied race. And it was controversial for two reasons. He basically said something like, sorry, if you want to be a high elf, go play Horde. And people were like, but I'm Alliance, and my friends are Alliance. And the second reason is that people thought that the reasons he gave did not totally make sense. Like, he was saying, like, there aren't too many high elves that exist, or, they look similar to the blood elves. But it's like, well, there aren't too many void elves and they still exist, and they have a bigger backstory than the void elves, and High Mountain Tauren kind of look like the Tauren and the Magheart. So people were saying that the reasoning didn't totally line up. Obviously it's Blizzard's decision, but I think people thought that the tone was not totally making sense with that.
Yeah, I feel like, like you mentioned, it feels like it would not really be a problem if they look like blood elves, because even void elves kind of look like them, right?
Right. And like Illyria has all the blue tattoos on her, so they could add extra options if they wanted to.
But maybe it's the fact that they if you look at the allied races, if they would add a high elf, then it would be too similar to an allied race that already exists, just in the looks itself, because like a lot of people were like, oh, nice, void elf for alliance, that means now we can look like blood elves. And maybe having high elves as alliance would be another, oh, now we can look like blood elves again. So maybe it's a little bit of that. Like, maybe they had to choose one and rather work on either a new race or a race that is similar to something else, like the Tauren or the dwarfs or things like that.
People are really excited about playing one, though. So it was actually like this controversial thing, I think, like sort of up there with personal loot. So I don't know. There's also, remember when Ian was like, oh, we're not prioritizing customization options, and then like
they did.
He's like, oh, like the next day here's Blood Elf Golden Eyes.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of things that they have to say in those situations is just to like stop the very exciting attacks from people with more questions and more speculation and more everything. So it's kind of like to protect themselves, I think.
Yep. Let's see. Just a quick reminder, Children's Week is here for the week. There is nothing really new to get, but if you want to obviously catch up, you can collect pets that you are missing and
achievements.
Yeah, and if you have all the pets, you can still get the pet care package, which has things like pet biscuits and flawless battle stones.
Oh, okay.
So if you like battle pets, like I know Blizzard announced a bunch of like buffs and nerfs coming to popular pets in Battle for Azeroth. So maybe if some of your like uber pets are not going to be good and you want to strengthen some other ones, you can get battle stones to do that, and a flawless battle stone upgrades any battle pet to rare quality, so that increases their stats.
Another reminder in terms of achievements, unless they've changed it, there is an achievement for Children's Week where you have to get 3 different pets.
Yeah, better Annie.
And you can only get 1 per year, so you should probably go and pick up yours for this year so that you're not a year behind in the future. If you do decide to one day go for all 3, just in case you don't have all 3 yet.
Yeah.
And also the achievements for Children's Week do add up to, or they are part of the meta achievement for What a Long Strange Trip It's Been, which gives the Violet Protodrake. So it could also be interesting for mount collectors to get these achievements done while it's available.
Yep. This next topic just sort of came up right before the show. I was sort of distracted helping write this up, so that's why we're a little late. We got the Activision Blizzard first quarter financial report, and there were 2 interesting bits of information. The first bit was not with the report, but the report was leaked before the scheduled time, which caused the stocks to drop, so that led to places like NASDAQ freezing the stocks for an hour and 20 minutes. And then the second interesting bit was that Blizzard has 38 million MAU, World of Warcraft. MAU means monthly active users. And then it's like World of Warcraft overperformed versus the prior expansion, Warlords of Draenor, at this point in time, unsurprisingly, with higher engagement sequentially and strong community participation with in-game purchases. Pre-orders for the upcoming expansion, Battle for Azeroth, are ahead of plan. So this probably means that, obviously Warlords at this point had, like, less to do, and Blizzard keeps having like weekly stuff people can do. But the biggest thing is that if you pre-purchase, you can unlock the allied races. So that probably explains how higher engagement means that people are logging in more frequently. So obviously you want an active user to be logging in every day, as opposed to, oh, I checked this out for 5 minutes and then I forgot about the game. So that probably is what the community participation is about. You can play all your allied races, and in-game purchases probably refers to people trying to boost characters or, race change to these allied races. And obviously the pre-order for Battle for Azeroth gives you the allied race, so that probably explains why you're getting all these people to pre-order so you can play the special content.
Yeah. Definitely. It's a few months before the expansion, but there's so many reasons for people just to log in even now. Because, like the allied races, for example. Like, what if you want to be one of the new allied races for the new expansion, but to play them, you have to have a max level character, you have to do the scenario, you have to have the reputations. So it does give people an incentive to actually log in before the new expansion hits to prep for it. Whereas in the past, you usually kind of like just wait for the new expansion to hit and then you go full.
Yeah. I'm also reading the Wowhead comments, and Lanky Brit has an interesting comment, which was, I think the single reason that BFA pre-orders were so large is that you can now use gold for BattleNet balance and then use that to get the pre-order. So, that could be something as well.
Yeah, especially now because people are starting to, stack up on the gold and everything. Because I think Legion was the first expansion with 10 million gold cap, right?
Right. They expanded that. Yeah. So that makes sense as well.
So people have a lot more gold to spend, and now there's more things to spend the gold on.
Yep. And then finally, just a reminder, the MDI continues this weekend with the Americas region, but also the end of APAC, because it had to be delayed since like the entire continent of Australia was had bad internet. So that will be this weekend. And also, just as a cool reminder, Blizzard has made a Twitch extension, which is a little overlay that shows you what everyone is using at any point in time. So if you're curious, like what talent builds they have or what 2 legendaries are best at a certain point in the dungeon. They are showing that, and they decided to use Wowhead's tooltips to power that. So that's really cool. Like, it's cool seeing like 50,000 people using the tooltips at the same time to get information. And if you can get Wowhead tooltips for yourself if you go to wowhead.com/tooltips, and you can do a lot of customizable things with them to show data in certain ways. So, shout out to Blizzard for, featuring the tooltips in that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, if the tooltips are good, then people want to use them.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
We also have a lot of MDI coverage going on if you want to hear like opinions from pro players. We have several Q&As going on each week where like people give top players questions and they answer them. So they talk about Mythic Plus in general or different stages of the MDI. And a lot of the participants have actually been writing guides for Wowhead recently from several teams. So, check those out if this is inspiring you to, try pushing your own keys or even just finally getting that 15 done for the special artifact hint.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we just want to wrap it up with some things going on Wowhead. And then we'll see if Katsuki has any questions from chat.
Mm-hmm.
Just to highlight.
This is also a good time to at Katsuki if you do have a question.
Yep. So just going over some guide and site updates. We continued our returning player guides with one targeted to players that quit in Cataclysm. Mm-hmm. And we saw a lot of people like Blizzard and Reddit like linking our Wrath guide from last week. So thanks guys, that's awesome. We know that if you are like a hardcore daily player that these guides are maybe not the most exciting to read, but for people that have quit, like they really want a guide targeted to like, I quit 7 years ago, I quit 5 years ago. So we're happy it's reaching our target audience there.
Mm-hmm. I think it's great. Yeah, I don't know whose idea it was to make them at first, but I think it's a great idea, and it's perfect for people who have had a break since like whatever specified expansion, and then you can pick the one that fits you. I think it's awesome.
Gumdrops has his usual weekly economy wrap-up, and once a month he does a giveaway, and he is giving away some game time that runs, I think until Friday, and that's featured in Wowhead's giveaway channel. And I believe the Warcraft Twitter account retweeted that, so we had some really great engagement. He always does fun giveaways where you don't just like comment to win, you have to like actually engage with the post and like talk about like a gold tip that you've learned. So it's actually really fun to read the comments. It's not just like spam, I love gold.
Yeah.
So he's really like helped grow that series, so it's awesome to see it be successful. We also had someone write a Shoal Dice write a guide to weak auras. It's a really powerful add-on, and everyone makes custom ones, but it can be a little overwhelming to start off with all the options. Yeah. So we now have a guide to that, and we have some similar ones on the way that we'll be highlighting over the next few weeks, like Deadly Boss mods. We launched some fixes to the Twitch extension, so you can maximize the screen, theater mode, and the buttons will not overlap with Twitch's UI. And also a weird bug where sometimes there would be like 4 talent columns instead of 3. So that's all really cool, and Twitch is actually having an event close by to where some of our developers live in a few weeks, so we're going to try to attend that, and I don't know, just like be like, hey, we love extensions, like we're here, like can we network? So I'm looking forward to seeing if anything comes of that. Just to be able to talk to them more one-on-one, because right now we just get this we get these messages from a robot being like, we've approved or like rejected your like extension update, like please do not reply to this no reply email, and we're like, okay, so if we can talk to the people one-on-one, that would be awesome. We also fixed the Discord webhook. Basically, we didn't, we made this over a year ago. We didn't, it was huge. Like, we did not expect such a reaction, but we're installed in like 6,000 Discord servers at this point. It's huge. And the webhook was not keeping up with the amount of requests it had to send. So some of the poor people, like, Tally's Discord, that were one of the later ones to install it, they were getting their news like 15 to 20 minutes after the first server that had it installed. So we totally rewrote how the notifications work. And the first time we rewrote it and tested it, it was too fast, so Discord's DDoS protection was automatically killing the webhook.
Oh, wow.
So we had to find the right balance of like the maximum amount of requests we could send out without triggering their DDoS. And we got it down to a science, so the webhook now sends the news to all 6,000 servers within 1 minute, down from 20. So we think that's a huge improvement. Because like now when there is a beta, we can just like rapid fire off the articles and not have to be like, oh, like, you know, gotta wait 15 minutes for everyone to know we posted the spells. I'm like, okay, like we got the spells posted, but oh, we, you know, the model post got an update. No one's gonna know about that for 20 minutes. So we're really happy we have improved the speed of that, and thanks for all your support installing and sharing the webhook and, you know, clicking on the links and, you know, helping it be a really awesome tool.
So what does webhook mean? Like, what does it do?
So what the webhook does, it's just basically a fancy term. It hooks into the news, and whenever Wowhead posts a new article or there's a big update, it will appear in a Discord channel.
Okay,
so for example, go ahead.
So I was going to ask, so you mentioned Tally. Does that mean he has a channel specifically for Wowhead news, or how does it work?
Yeah. So if you go to the Hammer Squad, if you go to the World of Warcraft Discord section and you go to the WoW News Spoiler Alert channel, it is solely a Wowhead news feed of whenever we post stuff, just appears there.
Okay.
And he was like number like 5,500, and I was like, why is it not showing up for him? Like, why is it so late? And that sort of made me be like we should kind of improve this.
That's pretty awesome. I think I'll add that to my channel too.
Awesome. I'm not sure if someone can drop a link to it if other people want to get it, but it's super easy to install. Like, you just have to go to whatever the URL is, and it's just like it's like an ad. If you're an admin, there's a button, and you can just add it to your. It's really easy. You just like hit a button. Oh yeah, so it's wowhead.com/news-webhook, and yeah, when Wowhead publishes front page news, we paste a link into your Discord channel.
Okay.
And you can choose the version to have that with a big preview image or a version with a small thumbnail. And it's really just like hit the button, and then it just you pick the channel you want it to be in, and it just appears there.
Yeah, Night Swifty and Kitsuki, they posted it almost at the same time, but I think Night Swifty was like a millisecond faster.
Yep.
Kitsuki's like, I need more coffee.
Yeah, Kitsuki's been like at the gym, and she's like, my arms, like there's muscles I'm discovering. It's hard to move the arms.
That's funny. Yeah, but no, that sounds really cool. I let me open it so I don't forget about it. I'm gonna add that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really good if you're like streaming and then like you like all tab back into your Discord and you're like, oh, like this thing happened. Like, let me just scroll up and I can see like what happened in the last few hours in chronological order. You know, it's really changed how we've done news. Like before, we would just sort of do roundos, but now it's like, well, people on Discord really want the news, so we've tried to increase the frequency of the news or send out extra updates if something like the talent calc gets updated with data mining, and people really seem to enjoy that stuff, and you know, everyone keeps clicking on it, so you know, I assume it's working. I assume we're feeding people the news they want to see. So 2 last things with community before we answer questions. The first is, again, Sass is recovering. He was in the hospital. That's why he's not at the show. So send him all your positive energy. Send him nice tweets at Sass148 on Twitter. He would really appreciate that.
Send hearts.
Yeah. We miss you, Sass. Get well soon. And then the final thing is, the final thing I just wanted to highlight is, we were both on some shows recently, and if you are looking at the related Wowhead article, I actually embedded the show at the bottom that I was on. I was on Zach's show. Zach is a kind of new Twitch streamer that was interviewing a lot of people recently, also including Final Boss, and he asked me a lot about, you know, Wowhead and Brightpaw a lot. Brightpaw made a really funny appearance where he knocked all the plushies down in the background. And at the start of the show, I'm actually holding him. That inspired me. I'm like, wow, he looks so cool at the start of the show. Maybe he'll...
Wait, for how long did he stay?
So he stayed for a few minutes, actually, because I literally walked in, sat down with the cat in my arm, and he's like, oh, this is perfect. We're going live.
Oh, wow.
Rolling the camera. And he had just this look on his face because I was carrying him, and he's all like, "Oh, I don't want to be carried. Like, I'll just loll my head." So he looked like a big diva. And then
yeah,
at the end of the show, he just
as
like
cats
climbed up.
do.
Yeah. Oh, oh yeah, I forgot to put the plush back up, but there's an empty space because he was doing stuff there. So that's the show I was on, and the VOD is embedded if you guys want to, give it a look. And you were also on a show. That's why you moved the show to Wednesday next week.
Yeah, so last week, Thursday, if you guys did not know, I was on Allcraft show. Allcraft is a podcast with Hodded, Asmongold, and Rich. Rich Campbell, I think is his surname. The VOD is not on YouTube yet, so that we don't have a link for it. But once we do, we will let you guys know so you can check it out if you want to.
Yeah,
it was really fun. It was a really fun experience. It was a very sort of chill environment, just talking to friends about WoW, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's basically it, and we've got a few questions from Katsuki. Let's see. Rada Kurth asks, any time frame given when character copies will be available on beta based on past betas? I do not know. This time frame is a lot different than past expansions. Usually the alpha is a lot shorter. Also at this point, usually we have beta keys to give away. So I don't know, everything's kind of up for grabs. Like, beta was very late and nobody really has keys to give away at this point. So it's hard to be like, oh, well, in the Warlords beta, the characters came at this point. We don't know any of that yet, really. So everyone's got to level to 120 the hard way. And because they just did a character wipe, they probably want feedback on people leveling. And the best way to get feedback and data is to make people level instead of skipping the leveling. Skies87 says, do you see any chance of them removing rep requirements on allied races by launch? I don't really see that because Blizzard seems to be like really into story, and I think they'll make the requirements easier, but I don't see them removing it because I think they want you to understand why you are getting these races. And like when Ian is even talking about the Void Elves in the Q&A, he's like, oh, like we made this story for the Void Elves and like we wanted them to make sense. So if you move the story, then they don't really make sense.
Like, it's something that they might change, like, in the further future, but I don't think they would change it now because then everyone who pre-purchased to be ready for it would then wasted money or, like, wasted time, even. So, they would not change it by the time of launch. Like, if you're considering to not do it, to wait for launch for an easier way to get the reputation, probably no difference. Maybe further into the future when there's more allied races, so the story behind these ones aren't as, like, as important in a way, or as relevant. Well,
right,
they're still relevant.
Like,
yeah,
we were talking about
they're still
like,
relevant.
Valeria doing stuff. So yeah, I think they'll still make people do it as long as the story supports it.
Yeah, I think they might I think they might buff the amount of experience that you gain doing the old stuff, but I don't think they would completely remove it. Yeah. And I don't think they would buff it at launch. I think they would buff it later.
I think the final question is from the Great Mew 83. Isn't the new prestige system eliminating progression as it's endless without rewards? Why don't they just remove it? I think that they would have to find a way for people to get the existing prestige rewards, and there would probably be some backlash that like I had to grind out all this prestige, and now like this other person can do it without spending less time. So I think it's sort of there as a relic. And the endless prestige kind of works well in Overwatch and Diablo, showing time spent on PvP, so I can see where they're sort of converting it into this other like system to show like a show a token of appreciation. If you PvP a lot, you get like a bigger number.
So that's what's gonna happen, with the prestige. It keeps growing, but there's no real rewards, or I think he mentioned something about loot boxes instead.
Yeah, it's just so, like, difficult. We haven't actually seen any of this in action, or just being told stuff in text.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even enable honor talents right now.
No.
We just got a last-minute question in from Aegis2566. Do you think there will be a catch-up mechanic for people to catch up with the prestige stuff, since there's a catch-up thing every time a new expansion comes out? We were discussing this earlier in the show, but we're not sure there will be one because they haven't announced any, but they've announced other things such as Prestige will be um, an account-wide total. So if you like alts, it will help you out. If you don't like alts, that will not really help you out.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're gonna have a catch-up mechanic. I think they would have announced it by now. But I suppose if you have alts, then there is that, which is helpful, the fact that it becomes account-wide.
Yep. And yeah, that is basically it. I don't think we have any more.
No more questions?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Well, in that case, it is time for us to do a little bit of a wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We had a bunch of new models to show you guys. We had some new zones. We had the new mounts, which is always a very interesting topic for me as a mount collector, and maybe some of you guys who may be mount collectors as well. We had some story spoilers and the updates on the testing, the dungeon testing, the mythic raiding, not mythic raiding, the heroic raid testing, some spell animations, and touching on the Borealis zones, the new NPCs that were added, and the special shout out to the interesting NPCs, Jay the Bard and the KFC NPC. What did you say? The COL? How do you say that?
Like Colonel or Colonel, like it's
Colonel.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, how do I talk? You also notice that we've.
Is it a name or is it a word?
No, it's an actual word. It's like a military rank.
Okay, got it. Yeah. My English, sometimes limits me, but okay. Yeah, we got that one as well. Selling Ancona chickens. And the rest of the show we're talking about some more of live stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Q&A, for example.
Yep.
And I think that summarizes everything. Yeah, the bingo. Damn. If I'd known it was there, I would have, because I was watching the show on stream as well, like commentating. So if I had known about the bingo, I would have used that on the stream. That would have been fun.
Next time.
Yeah, next time. Next time.
Yeah, Squishy and Neri put that together, so I'll definitely tell them. They had a blast doing that, so I know they're like, let's do more of that. We love memes, so yeah, awesome feedback.
Yeah, if they do more of those, I'd like to use them.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that covers everything, guys. I hope you guys had a great time watching. I hope you guys found out about something that you may not have known before, or maybe given some more insight into something that you may have heard a little bit on. Thank you everyone for being around, for following, for subscribing to the channel. Also shout out to the people who are subscribed on Wowhead's website itself, on the subscription called Wowhead Premium. If you're not familiar with it, it's a subscription which allows you to browse the website with no ads whatsoever, and also gives you some other extra perks, such as having your own color in the forums.
Yeah.
I did see some subscribers and some resubscribers earlier on while we were talking about stuff. I think I saw Ila Kvikt with the 5 months in a row kind of recently. Thank you very much for that. And there were some other ones as well. Maybe we should have a way of like putting a list together.
Yeah, maybe like Sass or Katsuki or Night Swifty can like notate some of those things and send them to us at break. So, maybe after we like take the spoiler warning off, we can do a bunch, and then when we swap to the live news, we can do a bunch, and then do another bunch at the end of the show.
Because I have a because normally when you're the streamer yourself, then you have your stream labels that shows the latest notifications. But yeah, maybe we could do something like that to make sure that everyone is mentioned. I think that would be awesome.
Yep, that'd be good.
Yeah, I think that would be great. But yeah, well, yeah, roll credits at the end.
Yep.
That could also work. That could also work. But yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting and watching, and we will see you guys again next week, same time, same day. So Thursday. I'm not going to say the times anymore. Perk, do you want to say the times?
I'm almost wondering, it's like, well, if they do, suppose they do some crazy raid testing like Thursday at 1, like, do we want to do it right at that time? Like, we'll see, but usually we're on Thursdays.
The starting time is alive It's a baby that has to be taken care of, so we will let you know when the time is near, but it should be around the same time. It should be Thursday evening, or, well, evening in EU, afternoon in the US, and
Right.
yeah, we'll keep you guys updated. It should be around the same time. Some
I just
raid
want to be
testing
like,
might get in the way.
mythic important raid boss at 1 p.m. They'll be like, oh, well, like, obviously you want to see that instead of
Yeah.
And we want to see that so we can discuss it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, usually Thursday 1 p.m. range, and unless there's like something really important going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think that sounds good. I think that sounds great. Well, take care, everyone, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. See ya.
Bye-bye. And again, last words to Sass. I hope you get better soon so you can join us again. We miss you. I hope everything is going very well at the hospital.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And also shout out to Kitsuki for helping us tonight.
And Night Swifty with the links.
And Night Swifty, yes. Bye, everyone.